The taste-to-effort ratio on this is just next level. I'm Mark Matsumoto and welcome to my Tokyo kitchen. Today I want to show you an easy brothless ramen recipe called mazesoba or mazemen. This literally means mixed noodles, and it gets its name from the fact that you stir the ramen and toppings together. It's kind of like an Asian pasta, and the sauce is a flavorful scallion oil along with velvety egg yolk and a spicy pork topping. It may not have a soup, but it's brimming with umami, so let's get started with a look at our ingredients. The first thing you're gonna need are some noodles. Ramen noodles come in all shapes and sizes, but I recommend using thick yellow alkali noodles to get the best texture. For our Negidaré or scallion sauce, I'm using 25 grams of ginger, a quarter cup of vegetable oil, this one's rice bran oil, a teaspoon of chicken bouillon powder, an 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon rice vinegar, a tablespoon toasted sesame oil, a quarter teaspoon of freshly ground white pepper, and of course 75 grams of whole scallions. For the spicy meat sauce, I've got 100 grams of ground pork, 1 large clove of garlic, 1 tablespoon doubanjiang, 2 teaspoons sake, 2 teaspoons potato starch, 3 tablespoons of dashi stock, and 2 teaspoons of oyster sauce. Finally, to assemble our mazesoba, I've got some shredded nori, toasted sesame seeds, and 2 fresh eggs. Let's start by marinating the ground pork. It's important to start with cold meat, and I'm gonna grate in about 8 grams of garlic. I'm using a daikon grater here, but you could also do this with the garlic press. By adding the garlic directly to the meat, it's gonna preserve some of the pungency of the raw garlic, but we're also gonna get a little Maillard browning, giving us the best of both worlds without adding it in 2 places. Next, I'm gonna add the sake, doubanjiang, and potato starch and mix this together using chopsticks. The reason for the chopsticks and cold meat is that we want to preserve the crumbliness as we mix this together. The potato starch helps keep the pork tender, and it's also gonna thicken the mixture into a second sauce when we cook it. Okay, that's good enough, so let's prep some aromatics. For the scallions, I'm gonna trim the greens off the stems and set these aside. Trim the root ends off the stems, and then I'm gonna split the stems in half lengthwise. Lay the halves flat and split them down the middle again. Then I'm gonna line these strips up, and these are pretty long, so I'm gonna cut them in half to save time. Then we just need to mince these up. You want each piece to be no larger than a grain of rice, so if they're still too big, just go back over them with a knife like this. Okay, let's set these aside and chop up the greens. Scallion greens can be a little fibrous, but by chopping them thinly against the grain like this, it makes them a delicious crisp topping for our mazesoba. Let's set these aside and prep the ginger. You want to peel it first, and I like doing this with a small spoon because it makes it easy to get into all the nooks and crannies, removing the papery skin while leaving the ginger intact. Then I'm gonna thinly slice the ginger against the grain. Line the slices up so they're staggered, kinda like this. Then I'm gonna chop the slices into thin strips. Try and keep the sticks of ginger all going in the same direction and turn them 90 degrees. Then we can mince them up. The ginger should be minced even finer than the scallions, so go back over them as many times as you need until the ginger resembles coarse sand. To make the scallion oil, add the vegetable oil to a small frying pan over medium heat. Then I'm gonna add the minced scallion stems and the minced ginger. I'm also gonna add the chicken bouillon powder as well as the salt. Now we're gonna let the aromatics gently fry in the oil for about 5 minutes. The key to bringing out the sweetness of the scallions is to use a relatively low temperature, so turn down the heat if the mixture starts to spatter too much. Once the aromatics are tender and reduced to about a third of their original volume, turn off the heat and add the toasted sesame oil. Stir the mixture until it stops sizzling, and then add the vinegar and white pepper. Mix it all together, and our taré is done. Divide the mixture evenly between 2 ramen bowls, or you can save half of it in the fridge for a few days if you only want to make 1 bowl of mazesoba. Put the pan back on the stove without washing it and turn it on to high heat. This is also a good time to put a large pot of water on to boil. Alright, let's add the spicy pork mixture to the pan and use a spatula to chop up the meat so it forms small crumbs. Continue stir-frying the mixture until it's fully cooked. Add the oyster sauce and the dashi and continue cooking it until the starch thickens it into a thick sauce. This is looking good, so let's add our ramen noodles to the boiling water. Set a timer for the time stated on the package and stir the noodles. I'm alone today, so I'm only cooking 1 portion of noodles and I'll save the rest for later. While we wait for our noodles to boil, I want to take a moment to thank all of you who've signed up for my weekly recipes over at marksrecipes.com. If you haven't seen it yet, it's full of easy meal ideas like this spicy yaki udon, this Japanese cabbage and shrimp spaghetti, or this kimchi meat sauce. And your membership helps to support this channel. Alright, let's get back to our mazesoba. Okay, our timer just went off, so I'm gonna drain the noodles. Careful, they're hot! Then I'm gonna add the hot ramen to the bowl with the taré. Use chopsticks to pull the noodles through the scallion oil, ensuring each strand is coated with the fragrant sauce. Then I'm gonna give it one last pull and layer the noodles to create a flat surface on top. This is gonna help hold our toppings in place. Sprinkle half of the bowl with our chopped green onions, and then I'm gonna sprinkle the other half with the shredded nori. Add half of the pork mixture to the center of the bowl. Then I'm gonna form a divot in the center of the spicy pork with my spatula. Sprinkle everything with some toasted sesame seeds. And then to top this off, I'm gonna break an egg and separate the yolk. By the way, firm, cloudy albumin like this is a sign the egg is very fresh, which is super important. Place the egg yolk on the spicy pork, and our brothless mazesoba is ready to eat. To eat it, you break the golden yolk into the spicy meat to create a rich and creamy sauce that you mix into the noodles. If raw eggs aren't safe to eat where you live, you can also top this with an onsen tamago, and I'll include a link to my recipe in the video description below. It's way past lunchtime and the aroma of this thing is blowing my mind, so let's give it a try. Itadakimasu. Alright, we've got that beautiful egg yolk here, so I'm gonna go ahead and break that into the meat, and then we're just gonna mix this all together. In Japanese, it's called mazeru, it means to mix. The noodles are chewy and al dente, and that scallion ginger oil has coated each strand of noodle in a fragrant, umami-rich blanket of flavor. And those fresh scallions on top add this crisp layer of texture that goes beautifully with the rich pork and noodles. This mazesoba has the depth of flavor and umami of a ramen that took all day to make, but it came together in 30 minutes, so I hope you'll give it a try. Well, I've got some work to do in the garden, but check out this playlist for some other slippery noodle recipes. And I'll catch you in the next one.